The crack of gunfire echoed across Golden Peak Shooting Club as Maya Chen stood at the registration desk, her modest appearance a stark contrast to the tactical, gear-clad enthusiasts around her. At 42, she wore simple jeans and a faded blue cardigan, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Nothing about her suggested extraordinary ability exactly as she preferred it. Membership is $5. $0 annually. Plus initiation fee, said the receptionist without looking up, her voice heavy with the assumption that Maya couldn't afford it. I'm just interested in a day pass. Maya replied softly. Your website mentioned visitor options. The receptionist sighed, finally glancing up. Her expression shifted from boredom to dismissal. Day passes are for qualified shooters. Do you have certification? Before Maya could answer, a commanding voice interrupted. Problem here. Caitlin. Victor Hargrove approached the desk, his presence demanding attention, tall and broad-shouldered, with carefully styled silver hair and a custom-tailored shooting jacket emblazoned with Olympic rings. He exuded authority. 3 gold medals in Olympic sharpshooting had transformed him into a legend, and, more recently, the owner of Golden Peak. This lady wants a day pass, Caitlin explained, emphasizing lady with subtle condescension. Hargrove assessed Maya with a single sweep of his cold blue eyes. We're not really set up for beginners here. The community center downtown has basic classes. His smile never reached his eyes. This is a professional facility? Maya met his gaze evenly. I have some experience. I just wanted to practice. Hargrove's laugh drew attention from nearby members. Some experience? Ma'am. We have Olympians and championship shooters here. People train for years to reach our membership standards. A small crowd had gathered, including a group of men in expensive shooting gear, who exchanged amused glances. Among them stood Senator Richard Wallace, whose presence at a shooting range was more about networking than marksmanship. Look, Hargrove continued, his tone shifting to exaggerated patience. We have liability issues. I can't just let anyone walk in and handle firearms. It's for your own safety. I understand safety concerns. Maya replied. I'm comfortable with. Comfortable? Hargrove interrupted, his voice rising for the benefit of his audience. This isn't about comfort. This is about expertise. He gestured toward the range. That's Daniel Cooper, 3-time national champion. Over there is Mark Williams, former military sniper with confirmed kills. At 1 Beshus yards. These are serious professionals. Senator Wallace stepped forward, chuckling. Come now. Victor. Perhaps we're being hasty. Maybe the lady has hidden talents. His tone made it clear he thought otherwise. Hargrove's expression brightened with sudden inspiration. You know what? Fair point. Richard. He turned to Maya. Tell you what, we have a basic proficiency test. Pass that, and you can have your day pass. The challenge in his voice was unmistakable. He had no expectation she would accept, much less succeed. Maya hesitated, weighing her options. She had come here seeking solitude, not spectacle. For 5 years, she had carefully maintained her anonymity, building a quiet life far removed from her former identity. Taking this challenge meant risking exposure, but walking away meant accepting Hargrove's dismissal. Fine, she said finally. I'll take your test. Hargrove's surprise quickly transformed into amusement. Excellent, Jason. Set up a basic qualification target at 25 yards. He turned to the growing audience. Gentlemen, we might have some unexpected entertainment today. As Jason prepared the range, a petite woman in a Golden Peak instructor uniform approached. Mr. Hargrove, perhaps I should supervise? Standard protocol for new shooters. Not necessary. Sophia. Hargrove replied dismissively. I'll handle this personally. Sophia Martinez frowned but stepped back, her eyes lingering curiously on Maya. At the firing line, Hargrove handed Maya a standard 9mm handgun with exaggerated care, as if introducing a child to a complex toy. "This is a Glock 17. The safety is here. Keep it pointed downrange at all times." Maya accepted the weapon without comment, her hands automatically checking the chamber and magazine, a habitual safety check performed with such fluid precision that Hargrove's eyebrows rose slightly. "You've handled firearms before," he observed, reassessing her. "Occasionally," Maya replied. From the observation area, Senator Wallace called out, "Don't worry about hitting the target. Honey, just try not to shoot your foot." His comment elicited laughter from his companions. Maya ignored them, focusing instead on the paper target downrange. Standard silhouette. Nothing complicated. She took a deep breath, centered herself, and raised the pistol. The first shot shattered the expectant silence. Without pausing, Maya fired 5 more times in rapid succession, her stance solid, her movements economical. When she lowered the weapon, the range fell eerily quiet. Through the viewing monitor, everyone could see all 6 shots grouped tightly in the center of the target's head, a grouping that even experienced shooters would find challenging to replicate. Hargrove stared at the monitor, then at Maya. The amusement had vanished from his expression. "Beginner's luck," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Sophia stepped forward, examining the digital readout. 6 shots, all within a half-inch grouping at 25 yards. "That's not luck, Mr. Hargrove. That's exceptional marksmanship." Hargrove's jaw tightened. "Fine. She can shoot a stationary target at close range. That hardly qualifies as exceptional." He turned to Maya, challenge written across his features. "Let's try something a bit more demanding, shall we? Moving targets at 50 yards. Maya simply nodded, her face betraying nothing of the internal calculation taking place. She had not intended to reveal her skills so blatantly, but Hargrove's condescension had awakened something long dormant, a competitive spirit she thought she'd left behind with her former life. The second test confirmed what the first had suggested. Maya tracked and hit each moving target with precision that left even the experienced shooters murmuring among themselves. Her technique wasn't flashy or dramatic, just devastatingly effective. An older man observed from the back of the room, his weathered face thoughtful. James Reed had been a shooting instructor for 30 years. 20 of those in military special operations. He recognized Maya's form immediately: economy of movement, the perfect trigger control, the absolute focus. This was no hobbyist who'd taken a few classes at the community center. Hargrove's face had flushed with anger or embarrassment, perhaps both. "One final test," he announced. "Long-range rifle. Variable wind conditions. That separates the amateurs from the professionals." As Maya followed Hargrove to the rifle range, James Reed fell into step beside her. "Impressive shooting," he said quietly. "Not many people can shoot like that without significant training." Maya glanced at him, noting the tactical awareness in his stance and the perceptive assessment in his eyes. "Thank you, James Reed," he introduced himself. "Former instructor. 5th Special Forces." Maya nodded, but offered no corresponding information. Reed smiled slightly at her reticence. "You don't have to worry. Your secret, whatever it is, safe with me." But Hargrove's ego is bruised, and he's not one to let things go easily. At the long-range section, Hargrove handed Maya a high-end tactical rifle. 1,000 yards, he announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. Variable crosswind from the west. 12 to 15 miles per hour. 3 shots. The challenge was clear. This was a test that would humble even accomplished marksmen. Maya inspected the rifle carefully, making minute adjustments to the scope and checking the wind flags positioned at intervals down the range. Sophia approached, concern evident on her face. "Mr. Hargrove, most of our members practice at 600 yards. 1,000 is." "Miss Martinez, I'm well aware of the difficulty," Hargrove interrupted, That's precisely the point. Maya settled into position, calculating windage and elevation in her head. The familiar ritual calmed her, transported her back to dusty hillsides in Afghanistan, where every shot had consequences beyond simple points on a range. Her first shot hit the center ring. The second struck within an inch of the first. By the third shot, a hushed anticipation had fallen over the spectators when it too found its mark, completing a tight triangle at the center of the target. The silence transformed into stunned disbelief. Hargrove's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded, no longer bothering with pretense. Before Maya could respond, James Reed stepped forward. "I believe the lady has passed your proficiency test." Victor, rather impressively. "I might add, this is ridiculous," Hargrove snapped. "No amateur walks in and shoots like that. She's clearly misrepresented herself." "I never claimed to be an amateur," Maya replied calmly. "You assume that—" Senator Wallace approached, his earlier amusement replaced by calculating interest. "Remarkable shooting, Miss Chen." "Maya Chen." "Miss Shen," the senator smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Have we met before? You seem familiar." "I don't believe so." "Senator." Wallace studied her face. "Are you military? Law enforcement, perhaps?" "I'm an accountant," Maya replied. The answer was so unexpected that Wallace laughed. "An accountant? Who shoots like that? I don't think so." Hargrove had recovered his composure, and with it, his arrogance. "I don't know what your game is, Miss Shen, but Golden Peak has rules. Members only. And membership is by invitation only." His message was clear. Despite her skills, she was not welcome. Maya handed the rifle to Sophia. "Thank you for the opportunity," she said, maintaining her dignity despite the public rejection. "I'll be going now." As she walked toward the exit, Reed fell into step beside her. "You know, most people would be demanding answers from you right now. That kind of shooting doesn't come from weekend practice." Maya said nothing. "But I'm more interested in why Hargrove and the senator seem so rattled by you," Reed continued. "It takes a lot to shake Victor's confidence." Maya stopped and faced him. "Mr. Reed, I appreciate your interest, but I'm just looking for a place to practice occasionally. Nothing more." Reed nodded slowly. "Fair enough, but you should know Hargrove doesn't like being shown up, especially by outsiders. And especially not by women. He'll look into you. There's nothing to find," Maya said, but something in her expression suggested otherwise. "Well, if you ever want a place to shoot without the politics, I have a private range about 30 minutes out of town. Old school. Nothing fancy. But quiet." He handed her a business card. "New questions asked?" Maya's apartment was small, but meticulously organized, reflecting the disciplined mind of its occupant. She lived simply. Books lined the shelves, a few photographs adorned the walls, and a desk in the corner held a computer and stacks of accounting files. As she entered, a teenage boy looked up from his homework at the kitchen table. Daniel Chen had his father's eyes, Maya's brother, who had died in combat 3 years ago. At 16, Daniel was still adjusting to life without his parents, and Maya was still learning to be the parent he needed. "How was the range?" he asked. "Did you get to practice?" Maya set down her bag. "Not exactly. It was more socially complicated than I expected." Daniel recognized the careful understatement in his aunt's voice. "They gave you a hard time, didn't they? Because you're a woman?" "Because I didn't look the part," Maya corrected mildly. "So what happened?" Maya shrugged, downplaying the confrontation. "I demonstrated some basic proficiency, but the club is membership only." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "You showed them up, didn't you? And they still wouldn't let you in." Maya smiled faintly. Her nephew knew her too well. "It doesn't matter. I'll find somewhere else to practice." Later that evening, After Daniel had gone to bed, Maya unlocked a hidden compartment in her closet. Inside lay a metal case containing items from her previous life, military identification tags, specialized equipment, and a collection of medals and commendations, evidence of a career spent in the shadows of special operations. Maya Chen had once been part of an elite unit specializing in counterterrorism operations. Code name Phantom. She had been one of the military's most lethal assets until a mission went catastrophically wrong. Intelligence failure had led her team into an ambush. Maya had been the only survivor, and the subsequent inquiry had cleared her of wrongdoing. But the psychological wounds ran deep. She had walked away, changing her name slightly from Mei Ling Chen to the more Americanized Maya, relocating to this small town, and building a quiet life, as far removed from violence as possible. Only her brother had known the truth, and now he was gone, leaving Daniel in her care. The encounter at Golden Peak had rattled her more than she cared to admit, not because of Hargrove's arrogance, but because of Senator Wallace's presence. The senator sat on the Armed Services Committee and had been peripherally involved in the inquiry following the failed mission. If he recognized her, her carefully constructed anonymity would crumble. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Golden Peak running background check on Ms. Chen. Thought you should know. Read. Maya stared at the screen. Hargrove was petty enough to investigate her simply because she had embarrassed him. But there was nothing in her current identity that connected to her military past. Her records had been sealed as part of her separation agreement. Still, the message unsettled her. Perhaps it was time to disappear again. Find another quiet town. Start over. But that would mean uprooting Daniel, who had already lost so much. Another message appeared. Regional shooting competition next month. Golden Peak hosting. Wallace and Hargrove announcing major defense contract. Might interest you. Maya frowned. Why would Reed think a defense contract would interest her? Unless he knew more about her past than he let on. She was about to delete the messages when a third came through. Prototype weapon testing. Rigged results. Inferior product. Soldiers will die. The last 4 words hit Maya like a physical blow. She had lost teammates to equipment failure, the result of rush testing and political expediency. If Reed was right, history was about to repeat itself. Against her better judgment, she replied, "What evidence?" The response came immediately. "Meet tomorrow. My range, 2 p.m. Reed's range turned out to be an old farm property converted for shooting practice. No electronic scoring systems or fancy equipment, just well-maintained lanes extending out to various distances. Protected by earthen berms and sound baffles, Maya arrived precisely at 2, parking next to Reed's weathered pickup truck. He emerged from a small cabin that served as an office, offering a simple nod in greeting. "Thanks for coming," he said, leading her toward the cabin. "Wasn't sure you would." Inside, the walls were covered with photographs and memorabilia from a long military career. Reed gestured to a worn sofa while he pulled documents from a safe tucked beneath his desk. "Here's what I know," he began without preamble. "Hargrove's company, Apex Tactical, has been developing a new combat rifle for special operations. Lightweight, supposedly more accurate at extreme ranges. With an advanced targeting system." He spread several technical specifications on the coffee table. "The Department of Defense is set to announce a $500 million contract next month." Maya examined the documents with professional interest. "These specs look ambitious." "Too ambitious," Reed agreed grimly. "I've tested prototype models. They're experiencing catastrophic failures under stress conditions. The kind of stress actual combat would create. How did you access prototypes?" "I consult for Dodd on weapons testing," Reed explained. "Or I did, until I raised concerns about these rifles. Suddenly my contract wasn't renewed." His expression hardened. Senator Wallace chairs the Appropriations Subcommittee that approved this project. He's also a frequent guest at Hargrove's estate and a major recipient of Apex Tactical's campaign contributions. Maya connected the dots quickly. You're suggesting the weapons testing has been compromised. I'm stating it outright. Reed corrected. The official testing results don't match the failures I documented. Someone altered the data, and you think Wallace is involved? Reed nodded. The senator fast-tracked approval despite objections from field testers. If these rifles are deployed as planned, we're looking at equipment failures in combat situations. People will die. Maya studied Reed's face, weighing his sincerity. Why come to me with this? You don't know anything about me. Reed leaned back, his weathered face serious. I know enough. Your shooting form is distinctive economy of movement. Perfect breath control. Textbook. Trigger discipline. Special operations trained. Definitely. Probably Tier 1. Given your skill level. He paused. And you clearly want to stay anonymous? Which means you left under complicated circumstances. Maya's expression revealed nothing. But inwardly, she reassessed Reed. His observational skills were sharper than she'd initially credited. What exactly do you want from me? Mr. Reed? Hargrove and Wallace are hosting an exhibition at the regional championship next month, a demonstration of the new rifle's capabilities to coincide with the contract announcement. It's being staged as a head-to-head comparison against current military rifles. Reed's eyes held hers. If someone could prove, publicly, that the rifle doesn't perform as claimed, that the tests were rigged, it would force a reinvestigation. Maya stood abruptly. You're asking me to deliberately put myself in the spotlight, to compete against Hargrove. I'm asking you to prevent soldiers from dying because of corporate greed and political corruption. Reed countered. You have the skills to expose the truth in a way no one can ignore. You don't know what you're asking? Maya said quietly. My anonymity isn't negotiable? Reed studied her for a long moment. Whatever you're running from, whatever happened, is it worth more than the lives that will be lost if these rifles fail in combat? The question hung in the air between them, laden with implications that Reed couldn't fully understand. For Maya, the choice wasn't simple. Exposing herself meant risking everything she'd built since leaving service, perhaps even her freedom. Depending on how her actions during that final mission were reinterpreted, but Reed's question had struck at the core of who she had once been, a soldier who put the mission and her teammates above personal safety. Could she walk away now, knowing what might happen? A week later, Maya stood on Reed's range. A rifle pressed against her shoulder as she methodically worked through drills she hadn't performed in years. The familiar rhythm of breath, aim, fire had returned quickly. Muscle memory, overcoming years of deliberate disuse. Your form is perfect, Reed observed from beside her, but you're still holding back. Maya lowered the rifle. Holding back? You're shooting like someone trying to appear merely excellent. Not exceptional. Reed's assessment was perceptive. At the competition, you can't afford restraint. Hargrove is an Olympic gold medalist. To discredit his rifle convincingly, you'll need to outshoot him decisively. Maya frowned. The point isn't to embarrass Hargrove. It's to demonstrate the rifle's flaws. Both are necessary, Reed argued. If you simply shoot well and the rifle fails, they'll claim operator error. You need to establish such overwhelming credibility that no one can dismiss your demonstration. He wasn't wrong. Maya had been holding back, a habit formed during years of intentional anonymity. Blending in had become second nature. Standing out was dangerous. The competition has 3 stages. Reed continued. Precision shooting at stationary targets, tactical course with moving targets, and long-range engagement under variable conditions. That final stage is where Hargrove will demonstrate his new rifle against current military models. And you want me to compete through all 3 stages, drawing maximum attention to myself? Maya's tone made her displeasure clear. You need to establish legitimacy, Reed insisted. An unknown shooter who appears only for the final wouldn't have credibility. Maya understood the logic but disliked the implications. Even if I agreed, which I haven't, thou would I gain entry? Hargrove controls registrations? Reed smiled for the first time. Already handled. I called in some favors. You're registered as a wildcard entry, special invitation from the regional association. Hargrove can't block it without creating a public relations problem. Maya stared at him. You registered me without my agreement? I registered a slot. Reed clarified. Whether you fill it is your decision. He checked his watch. You have 3 weeks to prepare and to decide if you're still the soldier who puts the mission first. The implied challenge lingered as Maya resumed shooting, each bullet finding its mark with unerring precision. She was rusty. Certainly, but underneath the civilian accountant, Fantôme still existed. That evening, as Maya reviewed technical specifications for Hargrove's rifle, Daniel entered her small home office. Are you really going to compete? He asked, surprising her. How did you, Mr. Reed called. Daniel explained. He said you might need some persuasion. Maya frowned. Reed had no right to involve you. Maybe not, Daniel conceded. But he's right, isn't he? About the defective rifles? Maya studied her nephew's face so, like her brother's. Earnest and determined. The situation is complicated. You always say that when you don't want to discuss something, Daniel observed with teenage directness. Dad told me stories. You know, about his legendary sister who could outshoot anyone in special forces. He was so proud of you. Maya's expression softened. Your father exaggerated. Did he? Daniel challenged. Because from what Mr. Reed said, you have a chance to save lives. Isn't that what you used to do? The question struck deeper than Daniel could know. Maya had saved lives. Yes, but in her final mission, she had failed catastrophically. The weight of those deaths still haunted her. Sometimes doing the right thing comes with consequences, she said finally. Exposing myself this way could change everything for both of us. Daniel considered this seriously. Because of what happened on your last mission? Maya's surprise must have shown. Because Daniel continued. Dad told me some of it, not classified details, but enough to understand why you left service. Then you understand why this isn't a simple decision. Daniel nodded slowly. I get that. But Dad also said something else, that you were the bravest person he knew. Not because you weren't afraid, but because you did what was right even when you were terrified. The Wordsher brothers' words penetrated Maya's carefully constructed defenses. She had built this quiet life partly to protect herself. Yes, but also to protect Daniel. Yet here he stood, challenging her to remember who she had been, who she still was beneath the careful facade. 3 weeks isn't much time to prepare, she said finally. Daniel's face broke into a smile. So you'll do it? Maya nodded. Decision made. I'll do it. The Greater Midwest Regional Shooting Championship drew competitors from 6 states, transforming Golden Peak Shooting Club into a showcase of marksmanship talent. Corporate sponsors had erected tents displaying the latest equipment, and the parking lot overflowed with vehicles bearing gun manufacturer logos and military branch stickers. Maya arrived early, dressed in simple but professional attire, black cargo pants and a navy shooting jacket without team insignia or sponsorship patches. She carried her equipment in an unmarked case, deliberately avoiding the flashy gear favored by many competitors. At registration, Sophia Martinez was checking in participants. Her eyebrows rose in recognition as Maya approached. Miss Chen, she said, surprised. I didn't expect to see you here. I'm registered as a wildcard entry, Maya explained, presenting her confirmation email. Sophia checked her tablet. Yes. Here you are. Wildcard slot 4. She lowered her voice. Just so you know, Mr. Hargrove was displeased when your name appeared on the registration list. I can imagine, Maya replied dryly. He's convinced someone is playing a joke at his expense. Sophia handed Maya her competitor badge. The competitors' meeting is in 30 minutes. Good luck. The meeting was held in Golden Peak's main clubhouse, a wood-paneled room filled with trophies and photographs of past champions. Hargrove's image featured prominently among them. As Maya entered, conversation posed. Heads turned, and whispers followed in her wake. Hargrove stood at the front of the room with Senator Wallace and several men in expensive suits. Corporate representatives. Maya guessed. Based on their non-competitive attire, Hargrove's expression darkened when he spotted her. "Welcome, competitors," he began once everyone was seated. "This year's championship is special. Not only are we competing for regional titles, but we're also hosting a historic announcement." He gestured towards Senator Wallace. "The senator will be unveiling a major defense contract that represents the future of American military superiority." Wallace stepped forward, his political smile firmly in place. "Indeed, tomorrow, following the championship finals, Apex Tactical will officially be awarded a $500 million contract to produce next-generation combat rifles for our Special Operations Forces. We'll be demonstrating this revolutionary weapon system as part of the long-range competition." Maya studied the senator's expression, noting the practiced sincerity that didn't quite reach his eyes. Beside him, Hargrove surveyed the room with the confidence of a man accustomed to adulation. When his gaze fell on Maya, his smile hardened. "Now, to competition details," Hargrove continued. 3 stages over 2 days. Today's preliminaries will narrow the field to 12 finalists. Tomorrow's finals will determine our champion." He paused. "I wish everyone the best of luck. Though, of course, in marksmanship, luck plays a very small role compared to skill and experience." The implied message wasn't subtle. Hargrove expected to win his own competition, adding another trophy to his considerable collection. As competitors dispersed to prepare, James Reed approached Maya. "Hargrove's people have been asking questions about you all week," he murmured. "So far, your cover is holding. But be careful. Wallace has connections in intelligence communities." Maya nodded. "I'll complete the competition and demonstrate the rifle's flaws. After that, I'll deal with any fallout." Reed studied her face. "You've made peace with the consequences?" "Let's just say I've reassessed my priorities," Maya replied. The preliminary rounds proceeded as expected. Maya advanced through each stage with calculated precision, shooting well enough to qualify for finals, but restraining herself from the exceptional performance she was capable of delivering. Better to save the revelation of her true skills for maximum impact. Hargrove similarly advanced, though Maya noted he seemed to receive particularly favorable conditions during his shooting. Windows wind machines temporarily adjusted, lighting optimized. Even slight scoring advantages on borderline shots. The home field advantage was being applied liberally. By day's end, the finalists had been determined. Hargrove, Maya, and 10 other top shooters would compete for the championship the following day. Maya, packet hair equipment. Sophia approached. "Impressive shooting today," she said, "though I get the feeling you weren't pushing yourself." Maya offered a non-committal smile, just focused on qualifying. Sophia glanced around to ensure they weren't overheard. "You should know the technical team recalibrated the scoring system for the finals. Hargrove's shots will receive favorable interpretation." "Why are you telling me this?" Sophia hesitated. "Because I used to believe in the integrity of this sport. Lately, it seems more about politics and money than marksmanship." She met Maya's eyes directly. "Whatever you're planning tomorrow, and I can tell you're planning something, be prepared for resistance." The championship finals began under clear skies and perfect conditions. Spectator bleachers had been erected around the main ranges, and a special VIP section housed military officials, corporate executives, and political figures. Media crews set up cameras to record the proceedings, particularly the weapons demonstrations scheduled to follow the competition. Maya arrived to find her equipment locker had been relocated to a less accessible area. minor intimidation tactic she had anticipated. She prepared methodically, checking her gear with professional thoroughness while observing the increasingly elaborate security arrangements surrounding the VIP section. During the first stage precision shooting at stationary targets, Maya maintained her strategy of controlled excellence. She finished fourth. With Hargrove, predictably taking first place, his performance was genuinely impressive, reinforcing his reputation as a world-class marksman. The tactical course presented more variables. Competitors navigated a complex range, featuring moving targets at various distances, requiring rapid transitions and split-second decisions. Here, Maya allowed more of her true capability to show, her military training evident in her fluid movement and target acquisition speed. She finished second, just behind Hargrove, whose familiarity with the course gave him a slight edge. As competitors prepared for the final stage-long range shooting under variable conditions, the atmosphere intensified. This would determine the champion. But more importantly for Maya, it would include Hargrove's demonstration of the new Apex tactical rifle. Reed found her during the brief intermission. "They've made modifications to your target system," he murmured. "Electronic scoring has been adjusted to register your shots slightly off-center." Maya nodded, unsurprised. "I anticipated tampering. That's why I brought these." She showed him specialized ammunition loaded with tracer elements that would leave visible evidence of impact points, regardless of electronic scoring. "Clever," Reed acknowledged, "but Hargrove has another advantage planned. During the demonstration, he'll use a specially prepared rifle, not the production model that's been failing in tests. It's a custom-built version that won't experience the same flaws." Maya frowned. "How do you know this?" "I still have contacts in the testing program. They confirmed the rifle being used today has modifications not included in the production specifications." This complicated matters. Maya had prepared to expose flaws in the actual rifle being sold to the military, not a specially enhanced version created for demonstration purposes. "I'll need to adjust my approach," she said finally. Reed looked concerned. "What are you planning?" "Something more direct than originally intended," Maya replied. "Be ready." The long-range competition began with competitors shooting in reverse order of their standing, meaning Maya would shoot third from last, and Hargrove would shoot last, another home field advantage, ensuring he would know exactly what score he needed to win. When Maya's turn came, she approached the firing position with calm focus. The target was positioned at 200 yards, well within her capabilities, but challenging enough to separate skilled shooters from exceptional ones. Wind flags indicated variable conditions, with gusts shifting direction unpredictably. Maya settled into position, her movements precise and unhurried. Through her scope, she assessed conditions carefully, making mental calculations that had once been second nature during operations. Then, with measured control, she fired 5 shots in succession. The electronic scoreboard showed an excellent but not extraordinary result, precisely as she had expected given the manipulated scoring system. However, the actual impact points visible through spotting scopes told a different story. 5 shots grouped tightly at center mass, demonstrating marksmanship far beyond typical competition levels. Murmurs spread through the crowd as observers noted the discrepancy between the electronic score and the visible impacts. Hargrove, watching from the preparation area, frowned as he conferred with technical staff. The final 2 competitors completed their rounds with solid performances, leaving Hargrove needing only an average showing to secure victory. He approached the firing position with characteristic confidence, acknowledging the crowd's applause with a practiced wave. "Before I take my final shots," he announced, "I'd like to preview the weapons demonstration to follow. Senator Wallace, would you join me?" Wallace stepped forward from the VIP section as an assistant brought forward a rifle case emblazoned with the Apex tactical logo. With theatrical flourish, Hargrove opened the case to reveal a sleek, modern rifle with an advanced optical system, Ladies and gentlemen, the ATR-7 combat system, the future of American military superiority, Hargrove proclaimed after my championship shots. I'll demonstrate this revolutionary weapon's capabilities against current military rifles in a head-to-head comparison. The crowd applauded enthusiastically, particularly the military procurement officers seated in the VIP section. Wallace beamed, already envisioning the press coverage of his announced contract. Hargrove completed his competition shots with predictable excellence, securing first place according to the electronic scoring. As Maya had anticipated, the manipulation was subtle enough to escape casual notice, but significant enough to ensure his victory. And now, Hargrove announced, the moment we've been waiting for, a demonstration of the ATR-7's superior capabilities. An assistant wheeled out a rack containing 3 rifles, Hargrove's ATR-7, a standard military M4, and a specialized sniper rifle currently in service with special operations units. Targets were positioned at extreme range 1, 200 yards. Challenging, even for experienced military snipers. First, a demonstration of current military capability. Hargrove explained as a uniform-wearing shooter stepped forward to fire the standard rifles. The demonstration proceeded as choreographed, with the military rifles performing adequately but not exceptionally at the extreme range. When Hargrove stepped up with the ATR-7, the contrast was Dramatich's shots grouped tightly at center mass, showcasing apparently superior performance. As you can see, Senator Wallace declared, approaching the firing line, the superiority of the Apex tactical system is undeniable. This is why the Department of Defense has committed to this historic contract to ensure our troops have the absolute best equipment available. Applause rippled through the audience as Wallace prepared to formally announce the contract details. Maya knew her window of opportunity was narrowing. She approached the firing line with deliberate steps. "Excuse me," she said, her voice carrying clearly. "I'd like to test the rifle, if I may." Silence fell as all eyes turned toward her. Hargrove's expression darkened. "Miss Chen, this is an official demonstration, not an open shooting gallery. If the rifle's performance is as superior as claimed," Maya countered, "surely it should perform equally well regardless of who operates it." She addressed the military officials directly. "Before committing $500 million of taxpayer money, wouldn't you want to see the weapon tested under less controlled conditions?" The logic was impeccable, placing Hargrove in an impossible position. Refusing would suggest the demonstration had been carefully staged. Accepting meant losing control of the narrative. "I assure you, the rifle has undergone rigorous testing," Wallace interjected smoothly. "Then one more test shouldn't be problematic," Maya replied. Unless there's some reason to avoid independent verification. The challenge hung in the air. From the VIP section, a 3-star general leaned forward with interest. "I think that's a reasonable request. Let's see how the weapon performs with different operators." Trapped by public scrutiny, Hargrove forced a tight smile. "Of course, Miss Chen is welcome to try the rifle. Though I should note that operating advanced weapon systems requires significant training." Maya accepted the ATR-7, examining it with professional thoroughness. Immediately, she identified the customizations Reed had mentioned, subtle modifications that wouldn't be present in production models. More concerning, she noted stress fractures in the receiver that suggested the rifle had already been experiencing the failure issues reported in testing. "The target is at 100 yards," Hargrove explained unnecessarily. "Wind conditions are variable from the northwest, approximately 12 to 14 miles per hour, with vertical distortion from thermal currents." Maya completed, demonstrating an understanding of ballistics that belied her supposed amateur status. Hargrove's expression flickered with confusion and growing suspicion. "Precisely. Whenever you're ready." Maya settled into position, adjusted the rifle's settings, and took aim, but rather than firing immediately, She looked up at the assembled officials. Before I shoot, I want to point out several modifications to this demonstration model that don't appear in the production specifications submitted to the Department of Defense. Her voice carried clearly across the suddenly silent range. The buffer assembly has been reinforced, the barrel harmonics adjusted, and the gas system modified. None of these enhancements appear in the rifles that would actually be delivered to our troops. Murmurs spread through the military observers as Hargrove stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. These are absurd accusations. Miss, Chen has no access to our design specifications. Actually, I do, Maya replied, nodding toward Reed, who had begun distributing documents to key military officials. These are the actual testing results from field trials conducted last month, not the altered data submitted for contract approval. They show catastrophic failures under combat conditions. Senator Wallace's political polish cracked as he realized the situation was spiraling beyond control. This is outrageous. Who exactly do you think you are? Maya ignored him, addressing the military officials directly. The rifle I'm holding will fail within 5 to 7 shots under rapid-fire conditions. The stress fractures are already visible in the receiver. She pointed out the hairline cracks to the nearest officer. If deployed as specified, this weapon would fail catastrophically during combat operations. American soldiers would die as a result. The accusation landed like a bomb. Military officials crowded forward to examine the rifle and the documentation Reed was distributing. Hargrove's face had lost all color as he recognized the authenticity of the testing data. This is a coordinated smear campaign. Wallace blustered, but his protest lacked conviction as more officials examined the evidence. Maya hadn't finished. To demonstrate conclusively, I'll fire the rifle at competition pace. Without waiting for permission, she took position and fired a rapid sequence of shots. The first 3 hit the target perfectly. Then, the 4th shot resulted in a catastrophic failure as the receiver cracked under pressure, rendering the rifle inoperable. The evidence was undeniable and witnessed by dozens of officials, competitors, and media representatives. The carefully staged demonstration had transformed into a public exposé of corporate corruption and political influence. As officials secured the area, Maya stepped back from the spotlight. Reed found her at the crowd's edge. You did it? The contract is suspended pending investigation. Inside the clubhouse, she faced military officers, including General Davidson. Herr former Commander, Captain Chen. He greeted her. What happened in Kawar province wasn't your fault. The inquiry cleared you. We've been looking to restore your name, not punish you. The revelation stunned Maya. She'd spent 5 years believing she was responsible for her team's deaths. We could use someone with your skills, Davidson offered, ensuring this corruption doesn't endanger our personnel again. I'll consider it, she replied, thinking of Daniel. Outside, Reed waited with her nephew. Was it worth it? Reed asked. Maya looked at Daniel's proud face and nodded. Yes. In exposing the truth about a defective weapon, she had found her way back to herself. The woman ordered off the shooting range had outshot an Olympic gold medalist, but more importantly, she had rediscovered her purpose.